Hi guys, and welcome to this Bootstrap 4 video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignertechtips.com. In this video we're going to use some cards to add a section for our menu section down here. So let's scroll down. This is where we left off. Underneath here I want to add a little section with 3 cards. You'll see what they are in a minute. They're going to look a little bit like this. We'll have one for the appetizers, one for the entrees, and one for the desserts with a little description. Once we've got those done, probably not in this video, maybe in the next video, we'll add some buttons that'll open a model or a modal window that'll have the actual menu items in it. So let's get started. So here's the folder that we've got our Bootstrap files in it that we've been working with. Here's our index.html file that we're going to be working on. Inside the CSS folder there is our custom CSS file that we'll be working with a little later. And in our IMG or images folder, I've just added a couple of images, M1, 2, 3, that we're going to be working on this time. Mine are 500 by 500 pixels, but it doesn't matter. You can have yours whatever size you need. So let's go back and let's open our index.html file with our brackets software. Now this brackets is a free text editor. You can download it from a link below the video here. As I say, it's totally free and it's awesome. And for this particular video, we're going to be using one of the extensions. So if we hit File, go down to Extension Manager, go over to the installed if you have them installed already. If you don't, you can search the available by just writing in Bootstrap. And for our use today, we're going to be using the Bootstrap 4 snippets. Now here it is. If you haven't got it installed, just type Bootstrap 4 snippets in there and you can just install it by clicking on it and drag the zip file that you download right here. It'll automatically install it for you. All these extensions again are totally free. And what we need to do is just click on the More Info button and that will open up another page for us. Mine's opened in another monitor I've got here, but it's right here. And it gives us a bunch of shortcodes that we can use to quickly build our site. It's a real time saver. And one I'm going to use today is Control Shift and G. So let's just move that back out of the way. Close out our extension manager here. Let's create a new section. And we'll give it the ID of menu, ID equals, and inside the inverted commas, menu. So we can scroll to it from the menu when we need to, from our Bootstrap menu. And inside our section, let's do a div with the class of container, so that it's contained, it's not full width. So we'll do class equals container and close that out, and there we go. Now in between here is where we want to put that little shortcode that's going to give us our group of cards. Over here is that list of shortcodes that we can use, and if we go down, I'm going to use a card group here. So all I need to type in is Control Shift plus G. And do play with these, just add them to your site to look at what they can do for you. There's all kinds of really useful shortcodes here. Throughout this series of videos we'll be using several different extensions with all kind of different shortcodes that really does make it quick to build your Bootstrap sites. So Control Shift G is what we want. Back to our brackets, Control plus Shift plus G all at the same time, and there it is. It's plopped in that nice bit of code for us there. And I always used to have to type these out manually, and this is a huge time saver. Okay, let's save that and go back to our site and take a look. It's not going to look like much at the moment because we've got no images in there. Let's go back. And here's our site as it was. Let's do a quick refresh and they should appear underneath. There we go. And as I say, those it doesn't look like much because we haven't got any images, we've got no padding. So let's go back in and make these a little more interesting. As I mentioned earlier, I put some images in my image folder here, M1, M2, M3. So let's put those in. And here we have IMG, class, card image top, source. This is where we need to put it. It's in our IMG folder and it's prompted us already. If it hadn't, I could just do /. Then it shows us what's inside that folder and we can just select the image that we want. And let's do M1. What I'll do is I'll just copy this and paste it in the next card and the next card. Let's change this to 3 because that was image 3 and image M2. There we go. So they got different images there. Okay. And its title, let's give this one appetizers. And this one, let's call it entrees or entrees. And the last one, let's have some desserts. Now I've pre-written some text over here that I'm just going to insert. Put it in between the P tags there. Try one of our great selection of tasty appetizers. And something for the entrees. Just a little tagline there. If you're hungry, try one of our awesome entrees. And something for the desserts, people with a sweet tooth. And obviously you can have as much or as little as you want here. This is just the tagline under the title there. Now underneath there you'll see a little P class text small. I'm going to leave that there. We're not actually going to use this. When we've actually built this, I'm going to change that to a button that opens up a model with the actual list of appetizers, entrees and desserts. Let's put in a bit of padding because I know I'm going to need some. So let's bit of padding at the top, so P-5, which is one of the great new Bootstrap 4 padding classes that you don't have to do separately with CSS. And let's just see what we got. I know I'm going to want to put some margins between these to separate them a little bit, but let's just see what we've got so far. Now we've added the images. Control S, save, and let's take a look. Let's just refresh this. There we go, and there's our cards. They're a little too bunched up for my liking at the moment. So what I'd like to do is put a bit of margin between them, each one, so there's a bit of space separating them. I think I'd like to align this text center. And then we'll look at that, but I might want to put a bit of box shadow in there just to make them stand out a little bit more. So let's go back and do that. So the first thing I want to do is in my card right here, the card group where it says P5 there, I'm going to give it the class of text center as well. And don't forget, you can have multiple classes, center. You want to make sure you spell things right, because if you don't, they won't work. So I've given it the class of text center, and like I say, it's okay to have multiple classes. That's no problem at all. And that will center all this text. Now I also want to give each card a bit of padding, or in this case we'll give them a bit of margin. So I'll give it a class of margin 3, I guess. It goes from 1 to 5, this new class. If that's not enough, I'll increase it to 4. But I think that should be about right. I'm just going to copy that with the space and add it to the other 2 cards that we've got here. What else do I want to do? That's probably it until we get onto the CSS side of things. So that should have centered that, and it should have given it a bit of space between each card there. Let's Control S, save, and go back to the site and refresh, and we should now see a bit of space in between each of these, and the text should be centered there. There we go. We've now got a bit of space between these, and that text is centered. Still want a bit more space here, so I'll do that with a bit of CSS. I think I want to add a bit of box shadow to these just to make them stand out a bit more. But before we do that, let's make our menu item up here scroll down to here, because at the moment it doesn't go anywhere. It'll stay at the top and doesn't do anything. So let's go back to our brackets, scroll up to the menu. There's our menu section. There's where we want it to go, the href there, and we named our section ID was called menu. So if I go back down just to show you that our section ID was menu, this is where we want that to scroll to, and so we just put hashtag menu in the href up here. Anybody that watched the previous videos will know that's what we had to do. Let's save that, back to the site, refresh, and now when we hit that menu, hopefully it will scroll down to the menu section. There we go. That's great. That's as far as it can go because there's nothing below it, so it can't scroll up below the bottom of the site. When we put something below it, it'll scroll up, so the menu will end up there. I'll show you with the team section. That's where the menu will end up when we've got something below it. Alright, well, let's add a bit of box shadow, make those stand out a bit more, and just give it a bit more space here. And we'll do that with some CSS. So if we go to our Bootstrap folder here, open up our CSS, and there's our custom CSS file we created. Just open it with the bracket software as well. And we're at the bottom of it, and let's just continue on. Let's call this menu, funnily enough, // title. Inside we'll just call it menu. Just makes it easier to find when you've got a lot of CSS. And what I'm going to do is I'll have the same padding that we had in the team section here. So let's do a quick cheat. Let's just copy this, paste that in below, change that to menu, which is the name of our new section. Padding I want to keep. I don't want a gradient background in there, so let's just delete that. I just want it as the white menu. Save that. Now I want to add some box shadow to that card, to each of those individual cards. So their class is card, I believe. Let's go down to, we're back on the index.html file here. Yep, div class of card right there. So I need to apply a box shadow to the card. So it's a class, so we put period. Let's go down there. We put period card, the name of the class. Open and close some curly brackets, and let's add some box shadow. And I don't want it offset by too much. So let's say 2 pixels. So it'll be sort of 2 pixels offset. And say 5 pixels. So it'll be dropped down by 5 pixels. And the spread, the actual shadow spread, let's give that sort of 20 pixels. We can always change this. And let's give it a dark grey colour. 777 I believe is a good dark grey colour. And put a semicolon after that. And Control S to save. Now let's take a look. Move that one out the way. Now we should have a box shadow around each of these cards here when I refresh. And we also should have some more space at the top here. So let's refresh. There we go, it's jumped down, we've got that space there. And there's our box shadow that makes these cards stand out a little bit more. That's fine. But I think I want to add a bit of padding to this text here, so there's more space left and right and top and bottom. And also I think I want to add a bit of space to that image. Put a margin on the bottom of that so it pushes these titles down a bit, so that'll make it stand out even more. Let's go back to our text editor. Back to our index HTML. We could do this with custom CSS, but with our new padding classes that we've got with Bootstrap 4, we can do it straight on our HTML here. So here's our card image. Let's give it a margin on the bottom of say 3. Again, we can always change it if it's too much or too little. Margin MB, margin bottom 3. Copy that and give it to the other cards as well. And then this bit of text that we had here, I wanted to add a little bit of padding, didn't I? So let's just add, well, let's start on the top one. Padding, don't want to give it too much. Let's try padding of 2. As I said before, these new classes go from 1 to 5. 5 being the most, 1 being the least. So let's try 2. We can always change it to 3 or 4 if it's not enough. And copy these to the same card text box on the other ones. So we've added a bit of margin underneath that image there and a bit of padding to that text. Let's save that and go back to our site. Now when I refresh, the appetizers should drop down, or all these titles should drop down because we put a bit of margin below this image here, and we should have more padding to the left and right, top and bottom of this text there. So let's refresh that. There we go. It's given it a bit more breathing space there. I think those look okay. But of course, this is the menu section. People don't know what's on them. So this will do for this video. But in the next video, I'm going to add a little button here, probably the length. And I'm going to have that. You'll click on that and it'll open up a model window with the actual menu items in between. Well, I hope you found that useful. If you have, please like the video and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're interested in web development, we've got some great web design courses below with some huge discounts for our YouTube subscribers. There's also some great free courses down there, so take a look. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.